Hello and welcome to the Power of You.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking to them.
Yes.
No, welcome to you two. And the Power of You. What? Tuesday morning, 10:30. Here we are. This is a good one, which is an immediate exercise into the theme of common meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is. And common meaning isn't common, as we're going to discover here.
Exactly. Oh, golly.
So those of you that are new to joining us on this Power of You, we do these every Tuesday morning at 10:30. And it's literally, the Power of You is all things leadership. I mean, we're just taking this placeholder called leadership, and Dolan and I combined, we've got about 90 years worth of experience in this particular domain.
Good
leadership
golly.
Development, leading organizations ourselves, leading teams. And we decided that we would just kind of share our expertise, such that it is not that you need to follow along or do anything. As a matter of fact, we'd wave you off if you were going to do anything based on what we said.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of insight, I think, in terms of what works, what doesn't, what you might try, what you might not try, and what kind of causes things to happen. Yeah, how we define leadership is all about movement. Leaders cause movement. That's at the end of the day, I don't care what personality trait you're talking about, but it's about causing movement from point A to point B. And hopefully there's a possibility of a new future state, that's embedded in there. And so we've got a definition we'll share with you here in a little bit, but
yeah,
that's what we're looking at here. So
yeah.
You ready to jump into it?
This is a good topic. Let's go. Let's do it.
This one's going to be fun. I enjoy this. We actually are, just as we begin this exploration, we're taking this from a section of our mastermind program. Dolan and I run a year-long mastermind program that is about leadership. It's a leadership mastermind. And we spend an entire, literally 3 months looking at the question of communication mastery. And part of that has to do with, understanding what the purpose of both of these dynamics are, both of these activities are. The purpose of a leadership activity is to produce a result. The purpose of any communication we engage in is to produce a result, whether that's build a relationship, get information, solve a problem. Relationships are, all present in both places. The purpose of leadership and the purpose of communication are the same. And if you want to be a masterful, elegant, highly effective leader, you need to master communication. It can't just be a drive-by proposition. So we spent 3 months in the mastermind program delving into this question of what does it mean to master communication. One of the areas that we focus on, and we spent a full month on it, is this notion of common meaning. Common meaning. So that's what we want to bring to the table here today, just a little bit of a teaser in terms of what you could actually begin to play with a little bit if you were to spend some time with it. So Virginia Satir, I love this. You want to take this one?
Yeah, I just love it. Communication is simply the way human beings work out common meaning with one another. It's interesting because I was thinking about this yesterday. Was looking at the slides and having just gone through a month of common meaning with the mastermind group. Funny when we think about that, probably one of the biggest, and we'll get into the challenges, but one of the biggest challenges and pitfalls as a leader, it comes down to those two words:
common meaning.
Common meaning. I assumed common meaning. We'll get into the other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's such a great quote. Communication is simply the ways human beings work out common meaning with one another.
And common meaning is not common in any way, shape, or form. And we're gonna.
Oh no.
No.
No. Let me go get my wife, and we'll.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. If you're in a relationship at all, you know that common meaning doesn't fly here.
No.
You need to do a little spelunking. What do you mean by that?
Good point. Yeah. Good.
So every Power of You, we isolate 4 typical blind spots that leaders are going to encounter in this, in this particular topical area. This one around common meaning. One of the blind spots is we're using the same language, so they know what's being asked of them. Language, and it's important to know that language is a symbolic representation of vastly different things to people. Yeah, I
Good point.
I spent 12 years working with Nokia, and I led a major chunk of their leadership development process. And we had, members of the organization from literally, I think, about 60 different countries at the time that I was working with them. And English was the working language, but English was not native to about 80%, at least 80% of the group with whom we were working.
Yeah.
So to assume common meaning around language was not going to fly. In an engineering environment, there are some, some areas where that might happen, but this was a leadership conversation, which was dealing with this squishy thing called relationships. Common meaning. Yeah. How do you?
I love, yeah. As you were talking about that, I had a flashback to teaching. I'm teaching a 5-day long set of curriculum, and I'm in the UK, just outside of London, teaching it. And we had a couple of Welsh people in the room. Neither one of us knew what the other was saying, and it just was. But English was the bond, but I had no idea what was coming out of their mouth, nor they mine. But anyway, and they gave me grief about my accent. But I love the next one too. They said yes. They're on board. The head nodded, right? But to what did they actually say yes to? It's like they said yes, but in there's what condition was set on that word? There's a conditional agreement. What condition? What did they actually agree to?
Yeah, and the meaning that we make up about yes or the head nodding. I lived in Japan for 5 years and ran a major consultancy over there. And I cannot tell you the number of times I would have staff as we were moving into new territory with some different things that we were doing that go around the table and goes, everybody understand that? Hi. Didn't mean that they were on board at all.
No.
It just means that they heard they heard noise come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, and they didn't want to, raise an issue. So, so what I was left with was relying on the clarity of the business case to make my case. And I cannot tell you the numbers of times and number of hours I spent just meticulously crafting the business case. We had the spreadsheets, we had the PowerPoint, all tied down, buttoned up.
No.
It made logical sense, but it didn't land in a way that was executable.
Right. Exactly. Which is a gap, by the way.
Yeah, it is a significant gap.
There's a little bit of a gap there. And then breakdown suggested, which hooks into execution problems. Research shows lack of clarity about roles and responsibilities, meaning, but the word meaning which is not meaning what they are, but the meaning are the major source of performance issues. And it's so fun because when going through that now in conversations with a client, let's talk about roles. And what does that mean?
Yeah. I know what your job is, but what do you get paid for?
Yeah, exactly. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? What does it mean to the outcome? What does it mean to the team? What does it mean to Claire? What's the meaning behind that? And responsibility, right? You're still very similar, but the leaders, as we go through these, we pick, and to your point, Blake, we only pick 4. There's more.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, we could spend the entire time talking about the blind spots. But as you go down through this is the link in this is when we're using the same language. So when it was asked, they said yes, they're on board. But what did they say yes to? Resilience on the clarity of the business case. Breakdown suggest execution problems. When you think about that, it really all comes down to that ability to get to the root of common meaning. Well, you and I talk about that. A business is merely a collection of people in relationships.
Yeah. And if the relationships are working well, you got a pretty good shot at being successful. Where relationships break down It's when people have different meaning made up about different activities and about different things that they're supposed to be doing from a roles and responsibilities perspective.
Oh yeah.
Well, you've got that title, so I just assumed that you were going to be taking that ball and running with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going, no, I didn't say I was going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of
Oh
how that
yeah.
works. So
They call you dishwasher, but I'm not going to wash the pots. No,
exactly. Yeah. Hey, I'm a house cleaner, but I'm not doing the windows.
exactly. Don't ask me to do. I'm not a window cleaner. Yeah, anyway, yeah, and the reason for those of you that are just joining us in this, and I'm sure those of you that have seen this in the past, symptoms are when you're as a leader. We've talked about blind spots; those are your blind spots, right? But in the body of your organization, the organization extends beyond you. You know? So these are symptoms that you look for that are happening in your team. Things you smell when you give your leadership a sniff test. Not that you would do that figurative. It's figuratively speaking, of course, but competing priorities are killing us. Everyone thinks and acts like theirs is the most important work to be done.
Yep.
Favorite conversation I love playing with the just favorite conversation in an organization is when you get a group of people who've actually never met or left their silo.
Oh boy. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. The excuse me. The story again here. I was doing some work with a pharmaceutical group in Japan. Yeah.
Yes.
At the time I was there, and the CEO of the firm. It was a German firm, so there was a German CEO in the Japanese version of the company,
That's
and then the
for me to
four.
chuckle, but oh my God. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
you
Yeah.
can start with that, and then the four managing directors that headed up each of the siloed areas: marketing, sales, production, and administration. They were all Japanese.
Mm.
So we got them together, and we were and they weren't producing what they thought they needed to be producing, what the CEO really wanted to have done. So, which is why they had brought us in to do some work with them, just kind of set the record straight, get them into alignment. I asked them, a very simple, what I thought was a very simple and straightforward question. What are the top 3 priorities that we need to be paying attention to right now? Just write them down, would you please? So, and they wrote them down. Now, 5 people on the team, including the CEO, we had 15 completely different, I mean, literally completely different highest priority objectives. And they were all silo specific.
Oh yeah.
Now, the CEO had made the business case for this being the direction we're going. And these were the priorities we needed to be paying attention to. But in their silos, these were the highest priorities. And as you can imagine, the competition for resources, the push me, pull me, and all of the dynamics that were in play there, because they thought theirs was the most important. They're getting paid to produce a result in this domain,
Oh,
not
yeah.
this domain.
I love
So
that.
competing priorities are killing us. Everybody had said yes, but the meaning that they were making up about it was completely off the charts.
Yep. It harkens right back to that with 2 ships passing in the night. There you go.
Grievances are described as conflict. Now, this one is
Oh,
interesting. We're hearing, and this is kind of how it shows up, we're hearing you don't understand more frequently when we try to implement new changes. Now, here's where this gets interesting. You don't understand is oftentimes a grievance statement. I have a preferred way of having this done. I have a preferred way of seeing things. I have a preferred way of working. You don't understand. This is how we do it around here. That's a grievance.
yes.
And it's not a conflict necessarily. Conflicts are 2 points of view coming up against each other and trying to get resolved. A
Right.
grievance is, I'm right. I'm holding on to this position. And where does it come into play around meaning? Well, the meaning they're making up has to do with right, not about what's working.
So powerful.
That's a very completely different distinction here. When you're working effectively with conflict, your focus is on what's working and what's not working. When you're dealing with grievances, it's about right and wrong.
Yes.
And you need to
Very
find a way
different.
to migrate that, to move that.
Oh my God. Such a and as a leader, when you hear that, leaders, when you hear that, I love that point, Blake. That's when you hear that grievance and you're dealing with right or wrong, it has to be an immediate shift to an and working or not working, and let's shift the dynamic of that conversation. Which it looks like we have alignment, but evidence suggests otherwise. That's that. Oh yeah, they said they agreed with and understood the business case and our strategy, but I'm not sure what they I'm not sure what they think they heard. So it's which I love that. It looks like we're all in alignment.
Yeah, I saw the heads nod.
And when everybody left the room, it's felt like realignment. Everybody agreed.
Yep.
Everybody said, yeah, awesome. And when they left the room, there was a 3-degree arc. And everybody just kind of, that slow drift starts to happen. And that gap between alignment and the direction you're heading towards that outcome widens over time.
The illusion of alignment will sabotage you quickly than just about anything you can think of.
Oh my goodness gracious.
That drift creeps in.
Oh, and it's silent.
It is. It's silence, which is, from a leadership perspective, when we're talking about communication, communication's about producing result. Leadership's about producing a result. You have to find ways to continuously communicate. Check in. How's it going? What's up? Has anything changed that we should know about?
Yeah.
If you're not bringing that to the surface, it goes underground and it starts informing everything that happens.
Oh,
so bringing that up.
Yeah.
So
shameless plug for accountability, but there we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Another conversation.
So one of the greatest ones that shows up a lot is when you go to the team, you go to the folks and say, well, okay, we missed this, or it looks like we're going to be missing this. What's going on? Well, we told them that the stuff needed to be done. They just haven't delivered yet, whoever they is. So there's, it's theirs, and speaking of accountability, buck passing. Okay. As soon as they get stuff set up, then we can do something. And until they do it, we are a victim and we don't have any power.
Yeah.
So you'll hear, it's not my job. It's not our job. It's not my job. It's not our job. And, there you go. You're stuck with it.
Yeah.
You're just stuck with it. Yeah. Until you can get clear meaning in. Well, and this is the distinction between what's your job and what do you get paid for? Well, you get paid for being accountable for the delivery of what it is that we said we were going to produce. That's what you get paid for. Now, you've got a job to do in that context, but we're paid for the delivery of the result.
Right.
How do you square that round?
Yeah, that's so important. And I think leaders, as you kind of listen to that, think about that for a moment. In the body of your organization, you could probably remember recent conversations with individuals on the team, and they may not say they were those words specifically. That's not our job. But they are coded and caveated in the word assume.
Yep.
I assumed Fred had that.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that, I feel like that's Fred's thing, not my thing.
He said he was going to do, and I've been waiting.
My favorite part. Yeah, but I'm waiting.
I'm waiting. I'm ready. Hey,
I'm waiting. Yeah, I love that.
So when we're talking about common meaning, again, this kind of goes back to we assume because we're using those same words, we understand what it is that we're talking about. Yeah, shake your head no. Yeah, that's not the case. There's a whole bunch of different types of common meaning, and particularly if you've ever worked in a global organization that has got different cultures involved, different ethnicities, different genders, obviously, all that stuff, different skill levels. Just all kinds of different approaches to things.
Great point.
Generally accepted, ordinary meaning, context specific, usual sense. You can read this faster than we can talk about it, but these are some of the things that kind of come into play here when people are thinking about what is common meaning actually about. Generally accepted means social agreement. And the limitation is you're getting compliance without alignment. So you just kind of read across here and you can kind of see how things don't work well. Teams fail because they attach different meanings to different things. And if you're not vetting the meaning making process, you're dead in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe one thing, maybe when we're done, we'll talk about this just for a moment. We flip this up and leaders grab a screenshot of this and print it and put it in your diary, in your book. There you go. We don't have to wait. Okay. But this is well rehearsed. Don't try. We're pros. Don't try this at home. But it's interesting, Blaine, and I love that idea because there's when we talk about the types of common meaning, it's like a dual-edged sword, right? Cuts going in, cuts coming out.
Yep.
And we'll just take the third one, context-specific meaning. It's just context is situational.
Yep. It's always flowing. It's always moving.
Yeah, context is always, and it's completely situational. What people forget is that last bullet varies by the individual.
Varies by the individual. Repeat that. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What's important to remember, from a leadership perspective, is all behavior. I mean, this literally, categorically, all behavior is generated out of a meaning-making process. So people don't behave because it doesn't make sense for them to behave in that way. They behave because it does make sense for them to behave in that way. How do they make sense out of it? Well, that's the meaning-making process.
Yeah. Matter of fact, as you were talking about that, this is a complete right turn from where we are. A lot of times when I'm talking to clients about how white people, there's only a lot of the rule of threes. You always hear me talk about the rule of threes, and since I'm older than you are, it takes me a while to catch up to stuff. But in the rule of threes, it's, I tell people, look, there's only 3 reasons why people fail in what they're doing. 1, they decide they're not going to do it. That's an easy, I'm out,
Yep.
right? 2 is they don't have the skill. There was an assumption that they had the skill to do it, and they don't fail because they couldn't actually execute on it. But the most common reason why they fail is you didn't get to common meaning.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get to clarity.
Yeah, for the sake of what? Why does this matter? See,
Right.
it will come down to, why does this matter?
Yep.
Why does this matter? So if you're looking at a unifying way to think of common meaning, you get down to eventually, why does this matter?
Yeah, yeah, spot on. And if you can't get there, you're done. I love this. You do it.
Yeah. People will rarely give you what you ask for. They will, however, give you what they perceive you're willing to settle for. So as a leader, just think about this. People are watching you. I mean, they kind of go, okay, and they're making up meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, what's he or she, thinking about? What are he or she, paying attention to? What are they? And so they'll offer something up, and you go, no, and they're, okay, well, I'm not going to settle for that. Maybe I need. So we keep coming back with stuff to offer up. People will give you what they perceive you're willing to settle for. Now, in our mastermind, we talk about this a little bit here, and it's a distinction between the results that you say you want, or the reasons, stories, and excuses that you're going to hear about why it can't be done. People will give you what they perceive you're willing to settle for. A lot of leaders are willing to settle for the validity of the reason, story, or excuse for why it can't be done. We don't have money. We don't have the time. People won't like it. We don't have the personnel to do it. The money, time, and a relationship. Or they perceive that you're going to, not buy into any of that stuff. And you're going to be a hard ass about it. You're going to be unreasonable about it. And eventually people will give you what they perceive you're willing to settle for, either the reasonableness or the unreasonable reality of that new perspective, that new outcome.
Yep. Yeah. Such a good, and boy, I tell you, which in the parlance of decisions is what we were talking about this morning with the group. Man, and when you walk that stuff back, you walk back a decision rather than maintaining that decision, you get exactly that. They give you, okay, we're going to walk this back before. You're going to settle for a no.
Yep. So that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. And with a smile.
Yeah. And over time, that becomes the way we work.
Yeah. It's
And you'll
acceptable.
hear people, well, see, we tried that before. It didn't work. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Let's look at something else.
It becomes accepted.
Yep.
Yeah.
So meaning in action.
Oh, yeah.
Teams don't primarily respond to stated expectations. This is that law. They respond to what a leader is going to tolerate, what a leader reinforces, what a leader consistently models, what leaders repeatedly allow. And over time, people begin to calibrate their behavior to the emotional, operational, and accountability standards that the leaders actually maintain. Now, that's a mouthful. People give you what they perceive you're willing to settle for.
Yeah, I love that. It's great. I haven't thought about it from that way. I was looking at this, and what I love is that, and I think people leaders, we lose track of the fact that your team will recalibrate.
Yep.
And by the way, all kinds of stuff you break in that process, but they will recalibrate their behavior, which means they will turn it down. They're not turning it up.
What truly matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, see, we've got somebody in the chat right now just asking a question here. Why is
Oh, hang on. Let me look. Comments.
Why is the less is more what truly matter? Keep it simple. That's a design concept. Not quite sure what you mean there, Mike. What's your mindset? But we want to keep it as simple as we can. If a confused mind will not move. We'll just kind of start with that.
And welcome back, Mick, by the way. So Mick, what's your mindset? So maybe a little clarity around that question. We'll pause for a moment. You can ask that. We'll keep an eye on the chat. That's
we'll keep an eye on the chat here. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, it's usually only and I care about the comments. There you go.
These concepts are used. Yes, these concepts are used in design. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
That's what it is. Yeah. So when you're designing, we design our systems. We're always in the process. Leaders are designers. You're designing the system to provide the result that you say you'd like to produce. And as the result, the goals and objectives change, you want to come back and revisit the design. Is the design going to support that new objective, that new goal? This is where meaning making comes into play. And Michelle, thank you. Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Michelle.
So that's exactly what we're talking about. It's about design. So which is a great tee up for this. The more we're aware of what's in play, we can begin to interpret what's going on and take appropriate action. So that's a very simple way of thinking about this.
Yeah.
So Dr. White, why don't you just kind of walk us through this? We've got 3 tracks here that we work with on this.
Yeah, awareness, interpretation, and action. So when we think about it in three domains, right? So, and I'll kind of walk each. I'll explain this in David's.
Yeah, definitely.
There you go. Good. Thank you, Michelle.
That's the Napoleon Hill training. Yep. See you tomorrow, Michelle.
That's right. And that's Mr. Meltzer himself.
Yeah.
So when Blaine and I talk, I'm going to start with I'm going to go very quickly through this. Fundamentally, we talk in 3 domains. We talk about in leadership mindset, which is that is your mind. Compassionate capitalism is the manner in which you conduct your business, right? In your team. And empowerment, or the empowerment operating system, which is, okay, so now you have this, what do you do with it? So across those domains, in awareness from a leadership mindset perspective, in that thinking process, what story is your leadership behaving, communicating when you are not present to explain it? This is and I'm only going to do this silo, or this column, I should say. I hung up on the word silo. Well, when we're talking about that from a mindset perspective, it really means when you're not present, what is your story? Your story precedes you, it is with you, and it is after you. What is the story your leadership behavior is, and how does your behavior drive that outcome? And we'll talk about for the sake of what in just a moment, so it's clearer. And then in compassionate capitalism, how are the experiences inside your organization shaping the stories people tell about your culture, trust, and leadership? which is that next step from mindset. So now the experience that you're creating inside of the organization, which means with your team, what stories are you shaping with those individuals around the culture? So the first is you, the second is shaping with the individuals, and the third is alignment, which is the empowerment operating system, which is, so now what do you do with it? Where does alignment between trust, communication, accountability, and action needed to be strengthened? And there's 4 domains that Blaine and I talk about an empowerment operating system, which is trust and autonomy, communication and transparency, growth and innovation, and systems of accountability, which is not a Trello board, by the way. And that last piece is, then where am I aligning in trust? Where am I not in alignment with trust? Where am I not in alignment with communication, accountability? And we measure against those. So as we move across from left to right, you can screenshot this and grab this. But as we move across, awareness moves into interpretation. So now how do I interpret that? How are the experiences shaping the story? And then in action, you create. What do you do? What steps are you taking to move forward? And so that's what happens inside. I don't know, hopefully I'm not going clear on this. Blaine, you can support me on this if I'm not clear. But awareness, interpretation, and action, it is that flow. Alignment creates the flow. The key message is inconsistency creates friction. We want friction in our organization because that's part of change. We do a lot with friction, but inconsistency creates the kind of friction we do not want. Because now we're out of alignment and we break clarity, and then we break confidence, and then we have people begin to make up their own stories and excuses.
So, and it's all coded in meaning. It's all coded in meaning. So again, all behavior is generated out of the meaning-making process that people engage in. And that happens.
I just said that sentence. It's all coded in meaning.
It's all coded in meaning. It's what it is. Yeah. And truly, in both Dolan's and my experience, most leaders are not particularly well schooled in how to generate, how to curate.
No.
They'll use the word curate. How to curate effective and appropriate meaning from a situational perspective. What does this mean? What matters?
So interesting you mentioned that, because most leaders, and this was my experience, it's been your experience, were taken to press school.
Yep.
When I'm speaking publicly about the organization, this is what I'm speaking that way. This is what I'm speaking about brand and what I can say and what I can't say and what I cannot do. All of the things that we're talking about here in this particular case for this slide speak this way. Yep. Internally.
Internal. Yeah, because it's the people in the organization that are going to be executing, and they're going to execute one way or the other.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be based on what's the meaning they're making up. You won't want to assume common meaning exists. You actually have to curate it. Which is where this actually comes into play here. This is a kind of a summary slide, if you will, but this is how we define leadership and where the actual work gets done. Leadership's the activity of influencing others in order to co-create coordinated movement in pursuit of a worthy ideal. Now, influencing, co-creation, coordinated movement, worthy ideal. Each one of those domains has meaning associated with it.
Yeah.
So influencing is about, what happens when you walk in the room before you've opened your mouth. People start making up meaning about what's important to you. Okay. And the co-creation piece, is your presence an invitation to engage, or is it a roadblock? Coordinated movement, when you start going into unknown territory, which is ideally where you're going to be going as a leader, and you're going to be building something new, how do people do the dance? And the meaning that is associated with conflict becomes really important there. Not so much the idea of right and wrong, but what's working and not working. And then that worthy ideal. And the worthy ideal is what matters. This is, when we distill it all down, when we're talking about common meaning, what we're really talking about is we've arrived at a point where everybody involved understands what matters.
Yeah.
And that drives our behavior. and then this leadership triangle, the leadership universe over here. Most organizations and most leaders will take time to work at the who, what, and the why, what, and how levels in the organization. That's strategy, vision, strategy, and tactics. This work on meaning takes place at the mindset level. It takes work there. And when you begin to land on common meaning, what you unleash are imaginative and innovative ways that you can go about creating what it is that you want to produce. This is where the spirit and the soul start to come into play. And not in a religious sense, but in a sense that there's a kernel here that wants to be expressed as fully as it can be expressed. And that's where aliveness begins to show up in the system. You start feeling it's alive. Yeah, it's vibrant. There's stuff to work with here. So almost all of the work that Dolan and I do with our clients organizes around mindset, spirit, soul, and imagination, the effective use of imagination. So it's all imbued in meaning. What does it mean? Why does it matter? And literally, why does it matter?
So why does it matter? I love this. Content may be king, but context is God. Context generates meaning. And it's funny, as you were talking about that, I wrote a couple of words down, which was, we talk about story. Story is how people tell their meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but the content may be king, and we'll hear that. I can't tell you how many times across the body of my career, and probably in your career too, we heard content. Just give them all the stuff.
Content.
Once they got it, right? Context matters. And to your point, Michelle, inspiration is a key component of it. Inspiration lives in, for the sake of what?
Yep.
The inspiration lives in me. It's the difference between desire and motivation. Inspiration is what gets me out of bed. Motivation is what moves me forward, where I get something for doing something extrinsic.
Yep.
And then meaning is for the sake of what? We're just kind of leaning in on that. Such a good question. All behavior is generated from meaning. I'll say that 2 times. All behavior is generated from meaning.
And what's important about that is to understand that when people behave in ways that seem nonsensical to you, just know that it makes sense to them. People do not behave in ways unless they're pathologically inclined. But typically speaking, in organizations, people behave in manners that are consistent with the meaning that they hold in their mind about what's in play right now. And the behavior is just a way that you can begin to access what's actually going on. Rather than addressing the behavior, you start asking questions about the meaning. How I describe something determines how I feel about it. How I feel about it generates my behavior. What you want to be able to do is understand the description process that people are using to understand and make meaning of what it is that you're asking for, what's going on in the environment, what's going on in the system. Shift the mindset, shift that meaning-making process, that description-generating process. You literally shift how they feel about what's going on, and you'll see a shift in their behavior as a consequence. Yeah. That's what we're looking for here.
Yeah, that's so important. You can have all alignment, but if you don't feel good about what it is that you're doing, feel is that if businesses were great, till we put people in them. Anyway.
Yep. So common meaning is not common. That's basically what we're working with here.
True.
Just own this. I mean, literally own this. There is no such thing as common meaning. It has so many varieties to it, particularly if you are in a complex organization, particularly if you're in any organization that's got people in it. There is no such thing as common meaning. You actually have to curate it. You have to vet it. Only when you have common meaning as a platform that you have vetted and people actually have said, that's what matters here. That really is what truly matters. Now you have a basis to move together. You have a basis to move forward from. So that's what we're looking at. So these power reviews, my cousin Vinny here. Use. We've got a full library of these, and they are available. And I think we're coming up close to, well, we're entering, I think, almost 80 of them now, 75, 80, something like that. Excuse me.
Yeah, so we're like crack right in the middle. I think I was looking this morning, like 77 or something like that of these things out there.
Yeah, so and they're curated, bunch. There's a bunch.
Yeah.
And they are available. And again, they're all things leadership. These are just, Dolan and I riffing on what we've experienced in our career. And they are available to you. And the invitation here is to, just find a way to listen to one that makes sense to you for what it is that you're dealing with. We've covered all kinds of topical areas. Decision making. We did a whole series on Deming's quality control stuff. Just from a leadership perspective, just fill in the blank. With the 7 hidden laws of leadership, we've got a whole programmatic approach to that. We took some time and we unbundled the 7 laws. All of that stuff comes into play here. So this library is available, and the intent is for you to be able to take them to your team. So if there's something that you want to think will be interesting here, or something that your team's wrestling with, pull that video down, show it to the team, have a meeting about it, and then have a conversation about how do we work with this? Does this make sense for what we're trying to do? Use it as a tool. And the intent here is to give you resources. And how do you access it? That's the question. Well, you go to this site, the Soul of Business Experience. It's a community, and we've got all kinds of resources in this community. Once you become a member, you've got access to different programmatic content. Once you become a member, the Power of You series is immediately available to you. And there's always stuff that's going on. Dolan and I do a weekly Q&A in the community. So we are available every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time for a Q&A session. And we're continuously posting content. He and I both have Stack newsletters and whatnot. So those are available as well. And there's places for people to also post their own content, to bring it to the community for exploration. Think of it as just kind of a de facto mastermind sort of a thing. And it's available to you. So feel free to go to that URL. Feel free to scan that graphic, that QR code, and it will drop you right into it. So
there you go.
This is the Power of You. And I am Blaine Bartlett. And
I am not. Oh, common meaning. Sorry. And I am Dolan.
Where did you go? Oops, I just blocked this.
I don't know.
I dropped blackout.
Highly trained individuals. We don't know. Now, such a good topic today. Very good. Very, very much fun. Dr.
Common meaning.
Very much fun. Speaking of common meaning, I are a good speaker. So there we go.
You done it, Captain.
Perfect.
We'll see everybody next week at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time for another Power of You. Not sure quite what the topic's going to be yet, but we will surprise you.
We got ideas.
In a very pleasant way.
We have ideas. Okay.
We got a lot of ideas.
We do. See you then.
We're like a little popcorn machine.
Yeah, come on.
Okay. Thank you, folks, for listening, and we'll see you next week.